Hello students, in this module we'll be studying about the difference between xylem and phloem, fine, and the animal tissues. So yesterday we have already discussed about the complex permanent tissue and we have finished up with the xylem phloem as well, but we should know what exactly the difference between xylem and phloem. For that I have prepared this tabular form difference. So pay attention students. The first one says that it only conducts water and minerals. So talking about xylem, it's a vascular tissue that helps in conducting water and minerals. But talking about phloem, it conducts only food. Conduction takes place only in one direction. So you can see here that the green one, fine, it is only one way. So the green like arrow, you can see the conduction is done only in one direction. But talking about the phloem students, it is done in upward direction as well as in downward direction. In upward as well as in downward. Now students, talking about xylem, only xylem parenchyma, which is one of the component of the xylem, it is living. Rest all other elements, they are dead. But talking about phloem, all elements are living, fine. Only phloem fiber is dead. Now students, xylem conducts and give mechanical strength due to the presence of lignified vessels, but phloem gives no mechanical strength. Now coming on to the animal tissues, on the basis of functions we have 4 different types of tissue: epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous. Now talking about epithelial, that we'll be discussing in our today's module. It is of further different types, like we have squamous, we have cuboidal, we have columnar, ciliated and stratified squamous. Connective, we have 4 different types. Talking about areolar, it is further categorized into tendon and ligament. Then we have skeletal, adipose. Skeletal is divided into bone and cartilage, and fluid is further divided into blood and lymph. So blood and lymph, they compose the fluid type of connective tissue. Talking about the muscular one, students, it is further categorized into 3 main types. The first one we have is the striated. Next we have is the smooth. Another one we have is the cardiac muscle. And the last one we have is the nervous tissue, right? So coming on to the epithelial tissue, this topic is very important, students, from examination point of view. It is a protective tissue that is separated from underlying tissues by fibrous basement membrane, hence always grow on other tissues. It can be simple, that is which is made up of one layer of cells, or it may be stratified, that is made up of number of cells or many layers of cells. Talking about their characteristics, students, so you can just read it out. They are tightly packed cells to form a continuous sheet, and they have almost no intercellular spaces. So both these points are connected with one another, as you can see it, that almost no intercellular space is present. So definitely if there will be no space present, that kind of cell will be tightly packed only. So talking about their location, students, epithelial tissue, they are present in skin, lining of mouth, blood vessels, alveoli or kidney tubules. It covers the organs and cavities inside the body and separates different systems from each other. As it forms the outer layer of skin, it protects the body from drying, injury, and infection. A very simple thing that has been explained here, students, but very important. Now, the outer layer of our skin is basically covered by or made up of epithelial tissue. So, the function of this hair is that it protects our body from drying, from any kind of injury and infection. Now students, talking about the classification of epithelium, you can see here on the basis of number of layers that can be simple or stratified, which I've already explained to you. Now here you can just have a look. It is simple squamous, which is a bit flat in appearance, right? Then we have simple cuboidal, students. The cube kind of cells are present. This is cuboidal. Then we have the simple columnar. You can see the pillar like cells are there, fine. This can be easily identified, students, pillar like cells. Fine, but talking about the stratified squamous, you can see it is much more complex in nature, right? Now, students, coming on to the types of epithelial tissue, different epithelia show different structures as they perform different functions. So, we should know that what exactly the type of epithelium is. We already know this thing. We are having squamous epithelium, cuboidal, columnar, and striated squamous epithelium, right? We'll be studying about their structure one by one, their location, that is in our body, and their function. So, it is very, very important. Now look here, students. The first one says that it is a squamous epithelium, students. Fine. Talking about its structure, their cells, they are thin. Flat and irregular cells which fit like floor tile to form delicate lining called pavement epithelium. Fine, nuclei is in the center, students. You can see here they are very thin. I've already mentioned that these are the flat shaped cells, irregular cells. Fine. Talking about their location in our body, so they basically present in our esophagus, the lining of our mouth, alveoli of the lungs, and blood vessels. And talking about their function, that they protects the underlying tissue from any kind of injury, right? And helps in exchange of gases in luxin material between the cells and blood. The second one we have is the cuboidal epithelium, students. These cells are cuboidal with round nuclei in the center. Fine. They are present in kidney tubules, duct of salivary glands, right? And what is their function? They basically gives mechanical support, and at times the epithelial tissue folds and form a gland that secretes substance. Such epithelium is said to be glandular epithelium. It's a very, very important thing. So what is glandular epithelium, students? At times, it is about the cuboidal only. Fine. So what happens at times? The epithelial tissue, it gets folds. After folding, it forms a gland that secretes the substance. So at that time, this epithelium is said to be the glandular one. Now talking about the columnar epithelium, students, you can see the column kind of shape, the pillar-like shapes which are placed side by side, and nucleus is situated near the base. So very important thing. Nucleus was situated in the center in case of the above epithelium, but talking about the columnar, you can see here the nucleus is present near the base. And these columnar epithelium, they are present in the inner lining of intestine, in respiratory tract. Cells have cilia, hair-like structure, fine, that moves and push the mucus to clear it. So mucus is a kind of liquidy substance, students, and the small tiny hair-like structure that is present around these columnar epithelium. These hair-like structures, they basically present in our respiratory tract, and they helps in moving and pushing the mucus so that it can clear our tract. Fine, because our respiratory tract should be properly cleaned. That is why these tissue are present over this region. Fine, in those regions. Now talking about their functions, it helps in absorption, excretion, and secretion. The last one we have is the striated squamous epithelium, students. So the structure is like this, that they squamous flat cells, they are arranged in many layers to prevent the wear and tear of parts. Fine. So the parts that maybe wear or it may be tear off from our body. So these squamous, they help us, fine, to prevent these wear and tear off. And that is why, in order to prevent our body from wear and tear, they are present in our skin, tongue, esophagus lining of mouth. And the main function, as they have already explained this thing, that in order to prevent wear and tear, so definitely they're going to help us in giving the protection and prevent wear and tear. So this was all about the epithelial tissue. I hope the things are clear to each one of you, because this is a very, very important topic. All you need to remember that the diagrams, they are very, very important. So you have to make all these diagrams in your notebook, students, and plus the structure, everything is to be written in the tabular form only, fine, so that you won't forget. Now students, coming on to the next type of tissue, that is the connective one. So connective, which means something like connect. So connect what? Here it connects various tissue together in any organ, right? And most abundant among all animal tissues. The function of these connective tissue is binding, supporting and packing of organs of the body. Now students, coming on to the characteristics, there are few cells, loosely packed, large intercellular spaces filled with jelly-like substance that is called matrix. Now blood. First of all, blood, fine, which connects all tissues and organs. So it has fluid matrix, which is known as the ground substance, and this fluid matrix is called plasma. It is the part of blood, students, which has proteins in it, which has salts in it, and hormones, in which red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets, they are lying. Fine. So together they form this blood. And what is the function of blood? So blood consists of plasma, RBC, WBC and platelets, right? It transports gases, food, hormones and waste to parts of the body. Now coming on to the bone, students, it forms skeleton that supports body and anchors muscles. It is a strong and non-flexible tissue in which bone cells, they are embedded in a hard matrix that is made up of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Talking about the ligament and tendon, then very important question, students. What exactly the meaning of ligament and tendon? So here the ligament which connects bone to bone. Fine. It is elastic. It has strength and very less matrix. It is elastic in nature because it connects bone to bone. So when it is connecting from bone to bone, it needs to be elastic, right? Now talking about the tendon, it connects muscle to bone. They are less elastic, fibrous tissue with great strength and more matrix. So we can say it is the totally opposite of ligament. Now what is cartilage, student? So they are widely spaced cells. They are hard elastic tissue, softer than bone. Matrix is solid but elastic due to presence of protein that is called chondrin. So this chondrin is a protein. Due to the presence of this chondrin, they are elastic in nature. Fine. You might have touched these your ears. So they are soft, fine, because the cartilage is present there below. Now, which is why we can bend a cartilage but not the bone. So, can you bend your ear? The pinna, fine, because the chondrin is present there. It is made up of cartilage, right? But you cannot bend your bone, right? So, it is found in your nose. You can bend your nose, your ear, fine. It is present in our larynx, our trachea, which are the internal organs. Now, coming on to the next that we have is the areolar tissue and the adipose tissue. So areolar, basically it fills space inside the organs. Like we have number of organs in our body, students. So it fills the space inside the organs, and that is why it supports our internal organs and helps in tissue repair. So if any tissue that is broken on wear off, tear off, it helps them to get repair, right? Now it is found between skin and muscle, around blood vessels and bone marrow, right? Now students, what exactly the adipose tissue is? Adipose tissue, they stores fat in our body, and they are found below the skin and between the internal organs. Cells, they are filled with fat globules, right? They are fat globules, and it acts like an insulator due to presence of fats. Fine. Now, this was all about the connective tissue, students. I hope the topic is clear to each one of you. So, thank you.